and
Mataji.
you can remove the
Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa call. We are very fortunate to have His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Mahārāj on the call today. I would like to hand over the call to His Grace Adhikadata Prabhuji to introduce Maharaj. Thank you, Prabhuji. You can take over.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji, for giving me this opportunity to introduce our very special speaker for this session, His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Mahārāj. So, dear devotees, Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Mahārāj has been practicing Krishna consciousness for much over 3 decades now. He joined Srila Prabhupada's family in the 1980s, and Srila Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Mahārāj is an engineer by training and also an MBA, and he renounced a very high-paying, prestigious job in an international bank to become a brahmachari in Mumbai's Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Mandir.
Hare Krishna, let us please avoid very elaborate introduction, especially material background and all that.
Sure. Yes.
Necessary.
Yes,
you can just start. Yeah?
Okay, Maharaj. I'll just give a very, very brief introduction. Srila Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Mahārāj has rendered so many services as a brahmachari and now as a sannyasi all over the world, and he is very much loved by the devotee congregation all across the globe. He has developed a very nice project in Belgaum and also Bhaktivedanta Manor. He is serving there for so many years. He also serves on the Shastric Advisory Committee of ISKCON. He is one of the most loved speakers in ISKCON.
I don't serve in the Shastric Advisory Committee.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Maharaj. Yeah. But it is our very big honor and privilege to have you on the call, Maharaj. I will hand over the call to you. Our humble obeisances to you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, I'm sorry for the delay. There was some technical problem and I was not able to log on to your network, your conference call. So this group is based in North Carolina, or it is all over?
All over the US, Maharaj.
I see. Okay. So I will do a little Jai Radha Madhava first. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
The recording has started.
Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivrajakacarya Stokar Sat Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Adhyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanischa Shri Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Punyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripasindhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Apologies once again to all the devotees who are in the conference and also devotees who are watching on Facebook. This is a new type of conference call that we are on, and somehow it took us more than half an hour to just enter, so that's how we got late. We are used to Zoom, which is very easy. So anyway, finally I'm logged in, and I'm happy to be with all of you. And for this Bhakti Sangha Japa conference, I presume you all get together every day to chant the holy names, and which is very, very wonderful. Today, you have asked me to speak on the topic of Mother, because today is Mother's Day, and the topic therefore is the importance of mothers, a Vaishnava perspective. Almost exactly a year ago, there was a similar conference that was organized in Mayapur, and several speakers spoke on the topic, and I was also one of them. I had also shared some thoughts from a cultural, social and spiritual point of view on the importance of the mother. I thought this time, since specifically you are asking about a Vaishnava perspective, I will begin with a philosophical kind of a perspective. Give a philosophical background to this whole concept of mother, and then, having talked about the theology or the philosophy of that, then I will come and discuss briefly about the actual day-to-day importance of mother in our worldly life, in our life in the world, shall we say. You know, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavantiya Tasam Brahma Mahadyenir Aham Virya Pradhatita. He says, I am the spiritual father of all living entities. So, this is a very clear statement. All living entities are siblings, and all are children of the Supreme Father, Krishna. Now, what is interesting is that Krishna is the ultimate Father, but he delegates this task of being father to his various expansions. So, for example, there is Mahavishnu, and there is Vishnu, Vishnu. They all play the role in different ways. And then, of course, there is the important question of Krishna acting as a father in the material world by impregnating Maya, the material nature, with all the jivas. So that's a very important point that I'll come to a little later. So Krishna is the original Purusha, the original Lord and Master of everything, and he expands himself, and he is the origin of all the other Purushas. In other words, he is the original father, and he is the origin of all the other fathers, so to speak. The word Purusha means enjoyer, it means Lord, but today I want to speak of the word Purusha in the context of being the father. So, he is the father, original father, and there are so many other expansions he has, so he is the origin of all these other divine, transcendental fathers. Now, what is interesting is that in Vrindavan, Krishna is not father. This is very interesting. Krishna is the son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. So, Krishna is never shown as being a married grihastha with so many children, not in Vrindavan. That he does in Dwarka. But in Vrindavan, he is a Nitya Kishore. He is an eternal adolescent boy, cowherd boy. And therefore there is no question of him being a father with children and all of that. So, what happens here? So in Vrindavan, Krishna's fatherhood is not visible directly. Krishna doesn't manifest his fatherhood. So I will introduce two words now. Incidentally, I was speaking to another group of devotees elsewhere. Somebody is typing. I think whoever is on the conference call, I think it should be muted, I hope. So I would like to introduce you to two words. I'm sure you've heard these two words and you're aware of their significance. One is called ontology, which means tattva, or the truth. And the other word that I want to speak about is called ras, or you could also say lila. So as far as ontology or tattva is concerned, that Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that he is the father of all living entities, he is the father of the whole creation. Right? What is the meaning of the word father? The word father means the male parent. He is the male origin of everything. So you could say in that way, in the sense that he is the father of all creation. And by father you also mean one who begins something. Like, for example, you can say Dhanvantari is the father of Ayurveda. Right? So you can also speak of father in terms of origin, in terms of inaugurator, someone who begins something or gives something, makes something very important, and so on. So Lord Krishna therefore is father not just of all the living entities, the 8.4 million species of life and the unlimited jivas in the material world, but he is also the father of the entire material creation in the sense that he is the origin of all of that. And he is incidentally also the origin of the entire spiritual world. So this is the ontological or the tattva understanding of Krishna. But as I said, because Krishna is not, does not manifest his fatherhood in Vrindavan, where he just plays the part of a simple, fun-loving cowherd boy, there what is predominant is not the tattva or the philosophy or theology of Krishna being God, or Supreme Father, and so on. But there what is predominant is rasa, the transcendental mellow, and lila, divine pastimes. So therefore, in Vrindavan, this fatherhood thing doesn't come in. There, Krishna is just relishing other kinds of states, being the son, being the friend, being the lover, and so on. So now, having introduced the concept of father, now let us come to the question of mother. Now we all know that for the sake of completeness, there must be father and mother and children. So, for some reason, it may be that the mother is not there or the father is not there in a family in this world, I mean. So, but that is in material world. But generally, we also understand that for a family to be complete, there will be a father, there will be a mother, and there will be some children. So if Krishna is the father of all living entities and the father of the entire creation, from the tattva point of view, then there must be a mother. So who is the mother of the entire creation? So the mother is, of course, Srimati Radharani. From the tattva point of view, mind you, once again. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 4, text 89, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Patneva Sarva Pujya Karma Devatam Sarva Kamita.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, sorry to interrupt. This is Abhiram Sakadas from Charlotte. Could you please hold your mic near Prabhu Maharaj?
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Or shall I just use the headphones? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. So did you all hear what I said so far, or should I repeat?
No, we were hearing, but it was very feeble, so now it is better. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
I don't have to repeat what I said earlier, right?
No, Maharaj. No. We could hear it.
Okay, thank you. So I'll continue. Okay, so basically, I mentioned that in a complete world, in a complete family, so to speak, if you take the entire creation as one family, then Krishna is the original father in terms of tattva, and he is the origin of everything, the spiritual world, the material world, all the living entities, everything. So there must be a mother, and the mother is Srimati Radharani. So I quoted this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, wherein it is declared that Srimati Radharani is Sarva Pujita, Sarva Pujya, that means she is worshipable for everyone. Also at the same time, she is Parama Devata, which means she is the supreme goddess. At the same time, she is Sarva Palika. Palika is the Palika is protector. Palika refers to the feminine, so Palika is a protectress. So she is the supreme protectress of everybody, and Sarva Jagatera Mata. She is the mother of the entire creation. So this phrase Sarva Jagatera Mata, has to be seen from the point of view of tattva or ontology. In as much as this a question of fatherhood, I think when all of you probably somebody does something on your computers or phone, then it creates a very loud noise in my ears. So I think everybody should mute it and not count. Okay? Sorry? Yeah. Okay. Can you all hear me now?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you.
Okay. So where was I? Yeah. So I was talking about how we must understand this position of Radharani as the universal mother in the context of tattva or ontology. Right? So just as Krishna is Supreme Father everywhere except in Vrindavan, he is Father in the material world. In Vaikuntha also he is the Supreme Lord and everything, but in Vrindavan he is not. Similarly, from the ontological or tattva point of view, Srimati Radharani may be the entire mother, or may be the mother of the entire universe and creation, the spiritual and material worlds, but in Vrindavan she is not the mother. Just as Krishna is Nitya Kishore, eternally an adolescent in Goloka Vrindavan, similarly Srimati Radharani is Nitya Kishori, the eternally adolescent beautiful girl who lives in Golok Vrindavan, and she is the eternal consort of Sri Krishna. So both are adolescents. They look like adolescents in Goloka Vrindavan. There is no conception of Srimati Radharani being a mother in Vrindavan or of Sri Krishna being a father in Vrindavan. Because Vrindavan is a place of rasa, of transcendental mellow and of lila. Okay? In Vrindavan, the mother is Yashoda. And the mother, those other elderly gopis, who are the mothers of the other cowherd boys, they also love Krishna in the Vatsalya Ras, so they are also like mother for Krishna. Yes. So, there Radharani is not mother. But from a tattvic or a philosophical point of view, Radharani is the original mother. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita it is explained that just as Krishna is the origin of all the Purushas, that means all the different Vishnu Tattvas, all the different expansions of Krishna, the different avatars of Krishna, Mahavishnu and all Narasimha, Ram, etc., etc. Similarly, Srimati Radharani, who is the original Shakti, the transcendental potency of Krishna, she is the origin of all the other Shaktis. So Radharani as the original mother of all is the original Shakti. So mother means Shakti. Mother is a kind of a Shakti Tattva. So she is the origin of all the consorts of Krishna in his different avatars and expansions. Kaviraj Goswami also mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that in the spiritual world we find the various Lakshmi Devis in Vaikuntha. We find the various queens in Dwarka. And we find the various gopis in Vrindavan. And the source of all of them is Srimati Radharani. So, these are the various goddesses of the spiritual world. She is also the origin of Yogamaya, the transcendental potency of Krishna who enables the transcendental pastimes in Goloka Vrindavan becoming more relishable. So Yogamaya facilitates various pastimes and makes good arrangements, etc. So now, what is the connection between Srimati Radharani and the material world in terms of tattva, in terms of ontology? It is that the Yogamaya expansion of Srimati Radharani further expands to become Mahamaya. Mahamaya is also known as Durga. And Durga manifests within this world in many ways, in many forms, and she is known by different names. Now all of you will remember that just before Krishna was born or appeared in Mathura, and Gokul after that, he called Yogamaya and told her to take birth, before to appear there as the daughter of Mother Yashoda. And he also told her to facilitate various other things. So we won't go into the details of that. Yes. And Krishna mentioned also that you will be known by various names in different parts like Ambika, Chandi, Sharada, Vaishnavi, etc. So these are the different names of Durga, who is in the material world, who is an expansion of Yogamaya. So Yogamaya facilitates the spiritual world and Mahamaya facilitates the material world. Mahamaya is like the reflection or the expansion of that original Yogamaya Shakti. Now, as you know, Durga is worshipped as mother by various people in the Vedic culture. In the north of India, for example, they say Jai Mata Di. They go to Vaishnava Devi and these other places of worship of Durga. So Durga is called Mata. She is the mother. Similarly, in eastern India, in Bengal and other parts, they worship Durga Ma. They call her Durga Ma or Kali Ma. Ma means mother. In western India, in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and other places, in Karnataka and so on, she's called Amba, Amba Devi. Right? So Amba means mother. Durga is worshipped like that. So in the different forms in which Durga is worshipped, amongst as she was worshipped in the Vedic culture, she's always as mother. And there's another interesting concept of the motherhood of Maya Devi. For this, we will have to go to the question of creation of the universe. Now, as I said earlier, that Lord Krishna, through Mahavishnu, impregnates Maya Devi or Mother Nature. But Mahavishnu is directly an expansion, or rather an expansion of the expansion of Krishna. So he is always transcendentally situated. So he will never touch Maya Devi. So therefore, how does he impregnate? He impregnates with his glance. And what is the meaning of this glance? So in Brahma Samhita it is explained that this glance is carried by Rama Devi, who is also Mahalakshmi. And the point of contact of this glance, which carries all the jivas, who are going to now be impregnated into material nature, and they will further get all their material bodies in the 8.4 million species of life, that point of contact is personified as Shambhu, or the original Shiva. Now you also know who is the husband of Durga or Parvati? It's Lord Shiva. So naturally, if Durga is the mother of all the living entities, then her husband must be the father. So that means Lord Shiva is the father of the living entities. But then we already heard in Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is the father. So how do we reconcile this? That Krishna is the father and Lord Shiva is the father. So who is the real father? Father is originally Krishna. But Krishna expands himself, sometimes as Vishnu Tattvas and sometimes as Shambhu Tattva. And these various Vishnu Tattvas and Shambhu Tattvas, they perform certain responsibilities on behalf of Krishna. So, when Krishna says that the universes emanate from me, he is speaking in his capacity as Mahavishnu. So when Krishna says that I am the father of all living entities, then in an ontological sense he is correct. But when it actually comes to coming in contact with Durga or Mahamaya, it is her husband, Lord Shambhu or Lord Shiva, who does that. So for us in the material world, therefore, Durga or Maya, Mahamaya, is mother and Shambhu is the father. So very interesting concepts. Yes, so we have to keep that in mind. So Shambhu has a very, very interesting profile. Now, in the Brahma Samhita also, it is explained. Actually, Kaviraj Goswami explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that the jivas are impregnated into the material nature who acts as mother, and then the living entities, the 8.4 million species, they get appropriate places in the different planets, they get appropriate bodies and so on. All that happens. So what is the role that Mahamaya performs? She performs the role of a mother, and a mother has two functions with respect to the birth of a child. Number one, she provides the accommodating space within which the child can grow. The child is first impregnated, the seed is impregnated, and then the child grows within the womb. So that needs space. So the womb of the mother provides the accommodating space for the child to grow. And the second is that she provides the material out of which the child's body is made, and she also provides further nourishment which further develops the body of the child. So these are the two functions of the mother. So similarly, Mother Durga, Mahamaya, also performs these two functions with respect to the 8.4 million species, with respect to not just the species on earth, but all the living entities within the universe. So she is the mother, then, and Shambhu acts as a point of contact with Mother Nature on behalf of Mahavishnu, who is acting on behalf of Krishna ultimately. And in this way, then the entire family of the whole universe is created. And then there are innumerable material universes like this. And in each universe, the same story repeats. So at the level of Mahavishnu, there is Mahamaya, there is Shambhu. And then each universe is created, and within each universe there is Lord Shambhu, and Durga appears as Parvati. So this principle of father and mother originally is Krishna and Radharani, and then as Narayan and Lakshmi in Vaikuntha, as Ram and Sita in Ayodhya, yes? And in the material world, of course, when they appear, then they come here as well, but from the point of view of the universal creation and sustenance and destruction, then it is Lord Shiva and Mahamaya. So this is a brief understanding of the father and mother concept from a philosophical point of view. Since I was asked to speak on a Vaishnava perspective, therefore I haven't so much spoken on the cultural part or the social part. I will speak a few words on that also, because that is important. So even in our everyday language, we speak of nature as being Mother Nature. I was in another discussion some days ago where I was mentioning that people who are activists for saving the environment, their activism is noble, but it is incomplete, because it only has a conception or understanding of mother, but not of father. They understand only Mother Nature, but they don't understand Father God. So their environmentalism will be complete only when they bring God consciousness or Krishna consciousness into their environmentalism. Then automatically the picture becomes complete. So now we have these different hierarchy, the different levels of motherhood in the universe, coming down to Durga Devi, yes? And then finally we come down to the earth, and then we had the various initial children of Brahma, who were the Prajapatis, and then they procreated amongst themselves. And then there was Manu, and from Manu then came all the descendants, the Manava or the Manushya. So Swayambhuva Manu and his consort, Shatarupa. So they, you can say they're like the father and mother for humanity. Yes? And then in our everyday life, we also have so many fathers and mothers all over in history we have had. And every one of us has a father and we have a mother. So the mothers today, therefore, in our families, now I come down to the social level, cultural level, they are, so to speak, representatives of all these other mothers. Because what does a mother do actually? Apart from the two functions I mentioned, which are at the time of the creation of the child, even later on after birth, the mother nurtures the child, the mother sustains, protects, feeds the child, gives the child all sorts of care, physical care, emotional care, etc., etc. So in the same way, Mother Nature also provides all the necessities for all of us to live in this material world. But when we as children become mischievous or we create some disturbance, then she punishes us. Coincidentally, this morning I was listening to a lecture of Srila Prabhupada in which he was speaking to some gentlemen at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. This is a series of conversations I'm hearing in 1973 at the Manor. Every day Prabhupada had many conversations. So he gives the example of some instance that he personally experienced when he was a grihastha as a young man. He said that in his neighborhood there was a gentleman who was older in age, and that gentleman had a son and a daughter-in-law. And the daughter-in-law had children, small children. And one time Prabhupada saw this young lady reprimanding and punishing her young child. So Prabhupada was talking to the father-in-law. So he happened to ask him, what happened? Why is your daughter-in-law punishing her child? So that elderly gentleman replied that it is because my older grandchild has typhoid and he's not supposed to eat parathas and all these things. And he told his younger brother that he was hungry. So the younger brother went and brought some parathas for him from the kitchen and gave it to him. The mother found out and then she scolded him and she punished the younger child. So he was trying to say that the mother, her function is to love, but her love can sometimes manifest as punishment also. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was saying that in a different context in response to something that the gentleman who was his guest was speaking, but I won't get into that now. I've used that example he gave to kind of illustrate what I'm saying now, which is that the mother, she basically is the epitome or the symbol of love for the child. Srila Prabhupada mentioned in several places that the mother is the symbol of selflessness, of service, of care, of protection. So whatever the mother does generally is out of these qualities. So even if a mother speaks harshly, it is out of love and care. So she punished the child out of love and care, because the child did not understand what it was doing. So similarly, when we also act mischievously, meaning that we act in a way that is not pleasing, that is not beneficial, then as a loving mother, Durga Devi or Maya Devi gives us a rap on the knuckles. She will punish us. So probably this COVID-19 pandemic is also a kind of a loving punishment from Mother Nature, from Ma Durga, from Mahamaya, to teach us human beings that we are getting off the path and we must come back to the track. You know? So this is something very important and interesting for us. So in day-to-day life within the family also, the mother has these roles, which are very important. At the conference on mother, which I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the talk, which happened 1 year ago in Mayapur, it was mentioned by others also that today the role of the mother has been reduced, unfortunately, only to one who is supposed to cook and clean, that's all. But actually the role of the mother, according to our Shastra, is very sublime and very exalted. The various scriptures, whether it's the Narada Pancharatra, whether it is the Mahabharata, they speak in very glowing terms about the contribution and the role and the position of the mother. Inside the home. Sometimes it is said the mother is 100 times more important than the father. Sometimes it is said 10 times more important. Elsewhere it is said 1,000 times more important. So we need not get confused about the 10 or the 100 or the 1,000, but the point that is being made in these different scriptures is that the role of the mother is so important. It is the most important role in the house, in human society. And without the mother performing her role properly, the society cannot function. And when I spoke at that Mayapur meeting, I quoted the father of the communist revolution in Russia, Lenin, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, who said that give me a good mother and I will give you a good nation. Now, Marxists, communists like Lenin, they are atheists. They don't believe in God. But even though Lenin was an atheist, he understood this one principle, this cultural principle, the social principle, that if you want a good society, you have to have a good mother. In that talk, I also quoted quite a few quotes from various famous personalities 100 years ago, 200 years ago in Europe and America, various kings and presidents and great authors and so on, who expressed in different ways their appreciation and gratitude to their mothers. And they all said that it is because of our mothers that we are the way we are. And so there are so many quotes like that. I think some of you who want to know more, you could just look into that quote, those quotes which I gave. They're all available in the internet, so I need not repeat them. You just look at quotes on mother by famous persons. Rudyard Kipling, I have this one quote. He said, 1 ounce of mother is like 1 pound of clergy. Clergy means, religious people like the priest, in the church or a place of worship. Because it is on the lap of the mother or at the feet of the mother, so to speak, that the child learns culture, character, values, morals, wisdom, even how to survive, how to live. This is where the child is nourished. The child gets physical, emotional, and spiritual protection and guidance. And that is what a person is made up of. The father also has a very important contribution, undoubtedly. But without the mother, it will be extremely difficult. The mother is the key person. And similar things are said by Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita when he speaks about how the women will be unprotected, and because the women will be unprotected after the battle, dharma will be spoiled. And all of you are aware of the discussion, those series of verses in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So that is because the presence of women, especially in their role as mothers, is so crucial. It is not that the position of mothers in other capacities is not important, but the most important capacity in which the mother can shape the situation of the world and the history or the future of the world is by being a mother. Because it is she who will not only bring forth into the world through her womb future generations or children. Physically she brings them into this world, but she also nourishes them and takes care of them and gives them good instruction to make them very useful and noble assets in the human society. So this is the role of the mother. It is unfortunate that today this aspect of the mother is forgotten. And today people think that unless one accomplishes something big in the outside world, one's contributions are not valuable. Today we consider things valuable in terms of material accomplishments and getting some positions in the society. Whether it's some big officer in a company or a big businesswoman or businessman, or getting a lot of money and things of that sort. But very rarely do we understand the importance of the mother who is staying at home, looking after the children, not only physically nurturing them and nourishing them, not only emotionally giving them whatever nourishment they need, but also giving them good values and culture, and above all giving them Krishna consciousness, giving them the devotional understanding. This is the most valuable thing that a mother can give for the child. And this is not being sufficiently appreciated today. Therefore, when I come across devotees who are young parents or about to be parents, I emphasize to them that do not underestimate the value of the phase of life you're stepping into, of being parents and bringing forth children into this world. For Grihasthas, bringing forth children in the world is one of the very important duties, the dharmic duties. And it is the duty of the parents from the time of the, even before the Garbhadhana Samskar, to prepare for the Garbhadhana Samskar, then the Garbha Samskar, which goes on till the age of 5, and then the further upbringing of the child after the age of 5. So that continues on. So this kind of role that the mother and the father play, and especially the mother, is being forgotten nowadays. So it is time for us to remember and glorify and worship those mothers who are actually doing this well. Many times mothers want to do their duties fully, but they are constrained because of many practical reasons. Maybe they are single mothers, they have to work, they also have to do so many other things, and so on and so forth. So we must appreciate them as well, because despite their limitations, they are doing their best to raise their children. And as far as others are concerned, we must also appreciate them, because they also may be having their own constraints, etc., and challenges. So the point is that the mother in the house has to be seen as a representative of not just Mother Nature, not just of Mother Durga, but ultimately as a representative of Srimati Radharani, who is the original mother. And Radharani also is considered the feminine, tender-hearted counterpart of the Supreme Absolute Truth, to use Srila Prabhupada's phrase. So she is very merciful, very kind. Krishna may sometimes be strict, but if you go to Radharani, then she is very merciful, and she will give blessings, especially in devotional service, very, very easily. So Srimati Radharani is the one who gives devotion to all of us. She is the mother of bhakti. So similarly, the mother in the house is also the mother of bhakti, so to speak, for the children. She is not only the biological mother, the physical mother, the emotional mother, but she's also the mother of bhakti in the sense that it is she who nurtures the bhakti lata, or the devotional creeper, in the heart of the children. So I think on this Mother's Day, we should congratulate and express gratitude to all the mothers in the world, and particularly those mothers in the devotee community who are doing their level best despite so many challenges to look after their children at all levels: physical, mental, emotional, intellectual, and above all, the devotional level. So I'll stop here, and I think because it's time, although I started late, I'm willing to go on a little late, but I think we'll leave some time for questions. Is that okay, Abhiram Sakha Prabhu?
Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Maharaj, Hare Krishna. You can go on for some time. We have enough time, Maharaj.
Okay, what about questions? Is there some method by which people can type their questions? So that it doesn't have to be muting and unmuting of the mics all the time, that will cause a disturbance.
Unmute themselves and ask questions.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I had a question. Thank you very much for this beautiful class, Maharaj. Every time we hear a class, it's like always with something new. Maharaj, I had a question regarding mother punishing, like Mother Earth is punishing whatever this COVID is going on. So as a mother, I am a mother of 3 daughters, and so when Krishna as a mother, he punishes, he's doing it out of love. Mine is, I cannot say it is totally love, because my ego comes in, because I know I'm not acting as a servant of Krishna 24/7. Can you say something so that, I can understand a little more that how to keep our egos aside, seeing them as gift of Krishna all the time is very hard for me. I mean, I act as a dictator more. I have my own conceptions. I want things the way I want it to be. And I feel sad about it.
Yeah. So for the sake of those who are watching on Facebook, I'll repeat the question. And the question is that we have heard in the lecture about how the mother sometimes may punish the children, but it is out of love. But the Mataji who is asking the question is asking that when she punishes the children or she deals with the children, it may not always be out of love, but sometimes it is out of ego or a desire to control, etc. Well, that may be to some degree, because we are ultimately humans and we are not exalted souls like Durga Devi, and certainly not in the platform of Srimati Radharani and so on. But so there may be some defects, yes, because we are conditioned souls in this world. But be that as it may, if we are just consciously aware of our role and our duties, and we train ourselves to look at our children actually as the gifts of Krishna, and Prabhupada says that the children are the gifts of Krishna, and it is the responsibility of the parents to look after them and bring them up nicely in Krishna consciousness. So it is a kind of a tapasya sometimes when the children may not do what you want them to do, and so on and so forth. But since you mentioned ego, I'll just mention a kind of a joke that I say. It's a statement I make in lighter vein. I asked the question that why has God created children? And the answer I give is that to destroy the ego of the parents. So because the children always say things and do things that, make the parent frustrated and sometimes feel helpless. So in any case, we should just try our best and remember that we are devotees, and certainly sometimes we may get angry, but make sure that you're always within the limits. Remember that you are a devotee, and you can't let that go unnoticed. You can't punish them physically, and you can't do those sort of things. So punish them in ways that are acceptable. And pray to Krishna and Srimati Radharani to give you the intelligence to do things right with them at the proper time. Any other question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. This is Adi Gadadhar Das from Atlanta, Georgia. Maharaj, I have one question for you. Thank you so much for your association and wonderful class. Maharaj, you explained how Radha and Krishna are our mother and father, respectively. So we are all, as devotees, we are all children. So we are all siblings. But sometimes in the close association of devotees, it is very difficult to get along and cooperate. Especially sometimes when we are very close to each other, we see defects and faults in each other. So as children of Guru, children of Radha and Krishna, how do we get along so we can please our parents? Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
The question is, for the benefit of the Facebook viewers, the question is that we are all children of Srimad, ultimately, from an ontological point of view, children of Radharani and Krishna. But sometimes we don't get along with each other, and we may have some differences and we may quarrel. So how can one act in such a way that will please Srimati Radharani and Krishna and the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas? Well, in any family, as you know, children will quarrel with each other. It's natural. In childhood they will quarrel, and unfortunately sometimes when they grow up also they quarrel. And sometimes the quarrels in adulthood are more serious than the quarrels in childhood. So why do these quarrels happen? Because the children do not listen to their father or their mother. They act independently. So similarly, if we also follow the instructions of Srimati Radharani and Krishna and the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, then we will be able to cooperate. That is the way to bring peace and harmony within any family. Everybody must obey the father and the mother. Then everything will be all right. Okay, so one last question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for a wonderful class. So Maharaj, sometimes it is seen that who holds the power in the family, whether it's mother or father. So Maharaj, sometimes there is a contradiction, like both trying to control, and there is a chaos in the family. So Maharaj, can you please say something like whether the mother should hold or father or both? Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, the question is that sometimes there are situations at the home where both the mother and father want to control things, and then there are some quarrels or some clashes and so on. So how does one sort that out? That's the question. Well, you see, if each one is doing his or her role properly and doesn't encroach on the other's territory, then it is fine. then everything will be all right. So the first and important thing to know is the delineation of the roles and responsibilities. There should be clarity about the correct roles that each has to play within the house. Very often that is not there even. So some education is needed with respect to what roles the mother is supposed to play, the father is supposed to play, husband or wife, whatever it is. The second is that even if one knows, one must act, one must follow that. If we act according to our own jurisdiction, within our own jurisdiction, we do what we are supposed to do, don't interfere, encroach unnecessarily. So there are some areas which are the domain of the mother. There are some areas which are the domain of the father, and there are some areas which are the joint domain of both. So these things must be clearly understood, and then there will be peace. Okay? All right. Okay, so my best wishes to all of you for your Japa conference. I believe that you are meeting very frequently and chanting together, and then you have lectures also by various devotees on your conference all through the US. So that is very, very inspiring to hear. And I hope and pray that this kind of joint activity can continue on so that everybody involved can progress nicely in Krishna consciousness. So, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
For joining.
Krishna Maharaj.
We have one request, Maharaj, for you.
Yes.
This group has been going on for last 10, 12 years. 3 times, 4 times a day there are conferences. And we would request you to guide us and help us in continuing our service here regularly, if possible, once a month.
I'll be happy to be of some service, but once a month may be difficult because there is so much going on in so many places and here also, but at some reasonable interval, definitely once in a couple of months, I think should be okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, that should be okay, I think. Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj. Koti koti pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Was the
Krishna.
class philosophical for all of you?
It's a wonderful class.
Or were you expecting more of just the everyday matters of the family and the mother and so on?
No, it was perfect, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Very wonderful class, Maharaj. Blend of everything, universal motherhood, and also Tattva, and connecting our material life and spiritual life. It's it was like an orchestra, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the wonderful class. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.